Good morning, everyone. I am going to be doing a show today on Abijah and developmental delay and let you guys know what's coming. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. So let's see here. Here we go. And there. So Abijah. And some people might ask me where I got this name from. This is still a biblical name. Abijah was a priest, and also there was a king named Abijah as well. So there's a whole line of priesthood named after Abijah. All right, so Abijah in the beginning. Abijah was born on October 23rd, 2014. He was born on time with no difficulties. He did fail his hearing screening and several more after that. He had 3 sets of tubes placed in his ears over the first few years of his life that improved his hearing. Even with this intervention, he was delayed in speech and struggled with sounds. So he did fail the newborn hearing screening, and by law, they have to redo it a couple of times. And they were supposed to have done this procedure where they put him to sleep and actually test the electrical activity to figure out how his hearing really is. But, the military, they didn't do it until he was almost a year old. So they just said that, he's got fluid in his ears. We're just going to put tubes in his ears. And his very first set of tubes, he was 2 months old when he had them placed. So, of course, as he grew, they fell out. And so we had to do 3 sets total. He did eventually pass the hearing screening, but it was like borderline. And even when they eventually did put him to sleep to test his hearing, it was again borderline. He passed, but it was just right on that border of passing. So it did affect his speech some. So speech delay. We thought the hearing difficulties were the reason for the delay in speech and difficulty with speech sounds, and we started speech therapy. During therapy, it was discovered that he was also having a difficult time learning vocabulary and retaining things he had been taught many times. So initially, we just thought he's had all this trouble with hearing. That's why he's struggling with speech. So he did have a hard time picking up words, but he also didn't pronounce things properly. So, it was hard to understand what he was saying a lot of times. And he talked all the time. So, he loved talking. You couldn't understand pretty much anything that he was saying. So a little bit more about Abijah. Abijah was very active and on the go. He would experiment with everything and would do the craziest things. One of our nurses called him Dennis the Menace on steroids, and it's so true. It's just the type of kid that he was. He flushed a plastic tube of toothpaste down our toilet, mixed water with toilet paper in the sink and clogged it, put paint in an ice cube tray and put it in the freezer, drew with markers on everything he could get his hands on, and just so much more. If I found an unknown mixture on the floor somewhere, Abijah was the one who did it. So, you just had to watch him nonstop. You turn your back for a second, and he just had made a mess, done something wild and crazy, or flushing something down the toilet. I mean, he was just on the go, mixing things just into everything, all over the place. No sense of safety concerns, just go, go, go. He was still lovable and fun. He just was a handful. So, preschool to kindergarten. So, Abijah started preschool for at-risk kids with continued speech therapy. He was not getting the speech therapy in the school. He had a speech support in the school that did small groups with kids with speech issues, but he had one-on-one speech therapy outside of school or in addition to school. And it was an all-day preschool program. So it wasn't half day or only a few hours. It was a full 8-hour preschool program. We moved to Idaho and continued speech therapy. While here, we discovered that he was also having some trouble with fine and gross motor, and we began occupational therapy. He still had a hard time learning vocabulary, and for this reason, I started the process to begin psych and neurodevelopmental treatment is supposed to be testing to find out what may be going on. We thought ADHD at first, but he is able to sit well and stay on task. So I'm not sure what his diagnosis will be. So again, there's two different types of ADHD, and one is attentive, and so he may not have the hyperactivity part of it, although he definitely was hyperactive as when he was younger. But now that he's a little bit older, he's able to sit, he's able to attend, he's able to stay on task for the most part. So I'm not as worried about like the hyperactivity, but he might still have an issue with focus. So he may still have ADHD. It just might be attention type, not hyperactivity or combined type. He was going to speech therapy, which is something that I started as soon as we moved here because he was not complete with it in Virginia. But the speech therapist did notice that he was struggling with some other things, which is why she referred him to occupational therapy. And then occupational therapy confirmed that he was still struggling with some of the fine motor and kind of a off gait, off balance kind of things. And because I had several people telling me that he was delayed in certain areas and it was just building up. It wasn't just speech anymore. It was this and that and the other. And then in kindergarten, I knew he was having a hard time when he would send home the progress reports where he wasn't learning all the letters. Now he does know them, or he wasn't picking up the sight words or learning vocabulary. And it's still hard to understand what he wants sometimes. He'll try to tell me and he'll use the wrong word, or he won't put the sentence in the right structure, like noun, verb, and adjective, or he just, I don't know, like he's much better and he's much clearer and he's speaking, so he's not making the sound mistakes anymore, at least not as often. But it's still hard to understand what he's trying to say sometimes, especially if it's something that he doesn't know what it is. And a lot of times it's words that he should be familiar with, but he mixes it up, or he doesn't get it right, or he tries to say some word that doesn't exist. So I don't know what his diagnosis will actually be. We are still waiting on testing results, and I do not see the neurodevelopmentalist until August. So for now, he only is diagnosed as developmentally delayed. I just said that. So we are scheduled for testing in August. For now, we will continue speech and occupational therapy over the summer. We are working on making complete sentences with correct nouns and verbs. We will work on learning sight words for reading and increasing his vocabulary. OT will work on fine motor and planning skills, and we will likely know more of how he will do next year in first grade. And I just recently found out that they're going to do a 2-week summer program that's going to be 5 hours, I believe, to work with kids that are behind in their sight words and reading. So, developmental delay, what is it? It is a simple diagnosis that simply means the child is delayed in one or more areas of development compared to other peers their age. It can be speech, language, gross motor, fine motor, social skills, emotional development, or daily living skills such as feeding and pottying. There are many resources online and with state agencies or private businesses that can evaluate a child to see where they are in each of these areas. Many times the primary care doctor will also screen these areas at yearly checkups. When they're younger, they're going to do screenings more often, like at 2 weeks, at 2 months, at 4 months, at 6 months, so the first year there's multiple times where they screen development. And then after the age of 2, it's every year. So, they do 12 months, 18 months too, and then 3, 4, 5. So that's typically what a primary care doctor will do. Of course, if you have a problem or you think that there's something that's not quite right, you can get them checked out anytime that you want, as long as you can get a referral or take them to your PCM and say, I don't think something's right. There are a lot of different people that can do evaluations for development. I know Virginia Beach had an infant toddler program, and a lot of states do have similar things where they will have a teacher or an OT or a speech therapist that will come into your home and evaluate, especially if you are below the poverty line or you're struggling financially. There's a lot more resources, like Head Start is one of those other agencies that will screen. At the age of 3, it becomes the public schools' responsibility to test and screen for any type of developmental delay, and you can ask and request for testing. Now, not every state offers that, but I believe that yeah, I won't get into the law aspect of it, but typically at the age of 3 is when you can start getting school services paid for by the state if your child is developmentally delayed. The amount of delay varies from state to state. I may have put that on a different slide. Okay. Yep. So for Abijah, get to know him and understand he may struggle with everyday things, including reading. He may be trying to tell you something and you can't figure out what he's saying or what word he's looking for. So it takes some just going back and forth so you can figure it out. If you suspect your child is delayed, seek early intervention. Early intervention is key to success in overcoming these delays. Seek therapy, blah, 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 such as speech, OT, PT, early childhood education. Many states have early intervention programs for children under the age of 3. After the 3 years of age, the school system should pick up these children if the delay is significant enough. The amount of delay required for school services varies state to state. So that's what I was kind of talking about. It does vary what's required for you to qualify for those services, but they are available. And a lot of insurance will pay for private therapy, and private therapy doesn't have as strict of guidelines for providing services as the school system does. So, and if you suspect more than just a delay, like if you suspect autism or genetic disorder or something else, neuropsych is the better way to go. If you suspect just maybe depression or anxiety, then just typical psych is the better way to go. And here are some pictures of Abijah. So he's here with Obadiah. Obadiah's a little baby, and this is Abijah. Me and Abijah. Abijah dressed as the Joker, which is perfect for him because he has the perfect Joker persona and the way he acts sometimes. And Abijah as a little baby. This one down here is one of the times that Abijah got tubes in his ears, and he's recovering from that procedure. So I hope you enjoy my little presentation on developmental delay and speech delay. I will cover more when I do Obadiah, who is next. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And please like, share, and subscribe. If you're on my Facebook, my YouTube channel is Moeller Family 7 Show. If you're on my YouTube channel watching this, then my Facebook page is ET1 Richard Moeller and Family. I would appreciate if you went to both of those and liked them, shared and subscribed to them, and give this information out. So everybody, I hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye.